To the third installation of Everybody Gets a Job. So this whole thing started several months ago when we were planning the STEM Academy at Hamden High School, which was the subject of the last session, STEM in general. And it made me think a lot about how many people have so many wide varieties of interests in what kind of vocation they want to pursue. Some people want to go to a four-year college. Some people want to use their hands. The most important thing to note that the economic prosperity of the town of Hamden is really dependent on everybody having a good paying job. And that really is the premise of it. So we took the 8 or 9 most important sectors in terms of jobs available and taxpayers in the town, and we built these seminars, these workshops, on how we become successful in the job market in Hamden. So that kid in 8th grade who's not sure what they're going to do for high school might make a different choice than Hamden High. And there's nothing wrong with Hamden High. It's a great school. But there are many other options out there. So at the STEM panel last time, we had Sacred Heart Academy on Benham Street talk about science programs for girls. So there's a wide variety of kids. There's 62,000 people in Hamden, and we want to make sure everybody has a good job. So tonight's topic are the trades. On your table are the bios of the speakers and also some information which I'll discuss later. So I'm not going to go into detail about the biographies of all the speakers. You could read about it. Each speaker will take about 10 minutes to talk about what their specialty is and what the educational requirements and what the earning opportunities are. And then after they get done with about 10 minutes each, we will do questions and answers. And at the very end, we'll leave about 20 minutes for you to speak individually to them about any questions that you have about their trade. So with that, I'm just going to hand off the mic and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Dale. I'm Dan Fuller, professor of automotive technology and department chair at Gateway Community College's Automotive Technology campus, which is not downtown New Haven. We're actually located just a few miles away in North Haven off of Bassett Road, the former Gateway Community College. So over there we have a high-tech automotive facility, and we offer degrees and certificates in automotive technology. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and talk about what the automotive technology field is like nowadays, what the opportunities are, the salaries, and what the available training and education is like, and what the requirements are, and what the payoffs can be, because it's absolutely a phenomenal field. I've spent my entire career starting as a mechanic in a dealership some 30-odd years ago, and have had a variety of careers with General Motors and now with Gateway. Lots of opportunity. So what's automotive technology? Well, it used to be a field where if you were good with your hands but not good with books, they would suggest you worked on cars. And there's still those opportunities for students that might not want to spend as much time on the education side, but for students who are willing to spend some time with some training and education, there are huge opportunities. So automotive technology can be anything from your local oil change place, a local independent shop, maybe a franchise place like a Town Fair Tire or a Firestone or a tune-up shop. And then there are the larger independent automotive facilities. And then, of course, you work your way up to the dealerships. And Hamden alone and North Haven, this area, is home to a lot of very large, very high-end dealerships that are all screaming for help as we speak. There's tremendous opportunity right now. We cannot get enough people to fill the openings in the automotive technology field. So the demand is certainly there. Whatever level you're looking for, and whatever background you have, there are opportunities in the automotive side. I'm not going to talk about sales or the front end or any of that. I'll talk about the training and education opportunities on the service side. Salaries. So you can get into automotive technology with minimal training. You can walk in the door of a tire shop and probably get on-the-job training, starting at maybe minimum wage or slightly above, and then work your way up. So it's not necessary to have college or even a high school education to get started, but I stress that's to get started, and that's depending on what you expect to get out of the field. For someone who wants to invest some time and some money into some training and education, a mid-level technician annual salary can vary widely from maybe $25,000 to $50,000 a year right out the gate, just starting out as a relatively new technician if you have the credentials, the certifications, things like that. As I mentioned, you can go into a franchise like a tire shop for minimum wage or slightly above, but keep in mind that a lot of those shops all promote and hire within. Town Fair Tire, which is very popular around Connecticut. They hire entry-level students right out of high school very often. They train them themselves, but more importantly, every foreman, every manager of every town fair is a former entry-level employee. They all hire from within. So someone who doesn't have the time or the ability to get further education can start off changing tires and end up running a store for them and do very, very well. So there's a wide variety of ways to get into it. My side of it's a little bit different. We're looking at the college level degree or certificate side. So we'll take a student who comes out of a high school. It can be a comprehensive high school like Hamden High. We get a number of students from there every year. Students that come to us from one of the great technical high schools like Eli Whitney. We get students from Eli Whitney. And those students will come to us and they'll either choose a degree, which is what we try to stress for people for their long-term future, or a certificate, which is essentially the automotive program without the academics. 2 years with us for a degree or a certificate. They do paid internships while they're in school with us. So after the first semester, students are out. We help them get an entry-level position in a local facility. We have a lot of students working in the area right down the street at Partica Chevrolet. We've probably got a half a dozen of our students and graduates down there. The advantage of the degree, the certificate, the college education is the growth potential. We have students that easily earn $50,000 and above upon graduation and certification. We have students that are earning over $100,000 in the larger dealerships like the Mercedes-Benz, the BMW. We have graduates in Chevrolet dealers in Connecticut that are earning in excess of $150,000 a year. That's not the average. That's the cream of the crop. That's the highly motivated. That's the student who got their education from us. They got their degree. They went on to get manufacturer's training. But my point is, it doesn't matter what level of background you have to get into the trade. The sky's the limit if you're willing to do the work, get the education, and get motivated. A large number of students from Eli Whitney right down the street go out right to work from high school, and they can get an entry-level job in any one of many automotive facilities in the area, and again, they can work their way up. So it really is an excellent career opportunity. We have students that come to us, they see our facility, they start taking classes with us, and they decide that maybe working hands-on in a shop isn't what they want to do. The automotive industry isn't just fixing and working on cars. There's huge opportunity working in parts departments, working in sales, management. Every side of the automobile industry, there's opportunities that schools like Hamden High, Eli Whitney, Gateway can help you with, depending on what your level of interest is. One of the important things to understand, and I try to tell all the students when we present at the high schools, is do not let cost or your doubt that you can go through college hold you back. Some 65% of Gateway students have free or almost free college education because of scholarships, Pell Grants, and things like that. Probably more than 65% of my automotive students are getting a virtually free education by virtue of Pell Grants, income-based Pell Grants. So don't assume that college is out of reach. We have a large number of graduates every year that are first-time college grads and their families. And it's really cool to see the parents come to graduation and see the first child in their family become a college graduate and then go on immediately and go to work. We do not have students that aren't successful. If they're successful in their internships and they do their work while they're at Gateway, they're fully employable, even before they graduate. Most of our students graduate or are working and wind up full-time employed at the shop that they intern even before they leave Gateway. So lots of opportunities. Don't let cost hold you back. If you have interest in hands-on, if you have interest in the high-tech side of it, the computers, the technology, I would urge you to take a look at the automotive field because there's so many different opportunities. And I'll be available afterwards if anybody has any questions, would like to hear from us. Thanks.
We should clap, right? Yeah. My name is Amy Blackwood. I'm here to talk about a program that I run for the Connecticut State Building Trades called Building Pathways Connecticut. If you're interested, we do have a Facebook page. I would encourage you to go out and take a look at that page. The program that we run gets students at all levels, and they can be 18 or they can be 59. It doesn't matter to me the age. What matters to me is passion for construction and building trades. So we do a 7-week training program that is completely free to the student. They spend 7 weeks with us, and again, at any level. They have an exploratory period where they learn about all of the building trades in Connecticut, and there are 12 unionized building trades within the state that have subset training. So it's everything from an electrician to a plumber. They all do welding. If you want to be a laborer, a carpenter, any type of trade, we actually get exposure to so that the students can make the choice that is right for them, because every trade is not the same and everybody has a passion in terms of what they want to do. So we spend time doing that. We also touch on the manufacturing component. Because of our relationships with Electric Boat, we take students out there to meet with the Marine Draftsmen Association and the Metal Trades Council, which is basically the construction side of building a submarine here in Connecticut. For just everybody's knowledge, they're going to be hiring a minimum of 1,300 people over the next year out in Groton, Connecticut to build those boats. And we've actually had 2 people placed out there and 4 more are currently testing. So it is a wonderful opportunity, but there is a construction side to manufacturing. So we do that as an exposure as well. Within the training program, they get construction math, and that's basically all of our old school math, none of this new math that everybody's doing. With a pencil and a piece of paper, no calculators. You get like a 2x4 and we make you do the math by hand. They get blueprint reading. They get 11 certifications. So by the time they're done in 7 weeks, they could go out any place in the state and get a job without going into unionized trades, although we encourage them to do so. So they also get things like their OSHA 10, they get first aid, CPR, flagging, fire watch. They get 400 hours through the Department of Labor's pre-apprenticeship regulations, which not only gives them an opportunity to go in as a second-year apprentice, but it gives them a leg up into all of their classroom hours that are required by the state of Connecticut. They also get something from the national building trades, because everybody likes to learn on a computer. We also do a component with what they call the multi-craft core curriculum, which is an online curriculum for the students to do for homework that gives them all the skills across all the trades that they would need to be a construction worker across this country. So that 7-week program sets the individual up. They get life skills, they get financial management, they get diversity in the workforce, they get a discussion about annuities and pensions and budgeting their money and all of the things that are necessary when they go out into the workforce. And then once they're done with their 7 weeks, we give them a trade day where it's like a final exam and they have to go out there on their own to a training school. And the unionized building trades have schools all over this state that are not paid for by $1 of tax funding. And what they will do is if somebody wants to be an operating engineer, they go up to Meriden to the school and they get to drive big trucks for the day. Or if they want to be a carpenter, they go to the carpenter school and spend time seeing what a carpenter would do. And when they're done with all of that, we work with them, and of course they've interfaced with all of the apprenticeship directors that would then give them an opportunity to go into unionized apprenticeship. Now, unionized apprenticeship is something that a lot of people don't understand, but it's basically like going to college to become a master craftsperson in your trade. So if you want to be a taper or a painter, you're going to go to school for 2.5 years, but that school is not classroom school. It is on the job, in the field, getting paid. So you are out in the field with a journey person or a master crafts person teaching you how to do your job. On day 1, the average across all trades in a unionized trade is $16 an hour to start. That also includes health care, an annuity, and a pension, which adds at least another $20 to that hourly rate. It is very difficult to get in. It is very driven by the work that is happening within the contractors here in Connecticut. You go apply to a trade on your own, there's going to be 500 people in front of you. You take this 7-week class, not only are you going to have interfaced with these people, but you're going to get extra interview points which count toward pushing you up toward the top of that list. And it takes time. It's not a short process. I've had people placed before they graduated, and then I've had people placed 8 months later. You have to be committed to construction to do this. It's not fun. It's dirty. It's hot. It's cold. It's wet. But if it's something you want to do, you'll make the moves you need to make. And I don't see a lot of young ladies in here tonight, but the program was built originally to bring women into the trades. So if we have daughters, sisters, mothers, aunts, or grandmothers that have always wanted to build things and didn't think they could because they didn't think they could apply, tell them to come see me. As far as our placement rate goes, the program has been in existence for 2 years now. We got the original funding into Connecticut from the Obama and Biden administration. They wanted to push really getting more women into construction because there's been federal regulations on the books since 1978 which say that there should be 6.9% women in construction. We've been 3.2% women for 30 years in Connecticut. So that's where the start was. We've opened it up. We've graduated 63 individuals. The women are being placed at an 81% placement rate. The males are being placed at a 72% placement rate. And we do all we can to get the individuals through the process. So my staff are social workers who help you through the process, and we don't let anybody go. So if you find construction isn't for you, we're going to work with you till you find a living wage job. And that's what I do every day.
Let me just intercede for one
Yep.
second before I turn it over to our third speaker. Thank you for coming, everyone. And by the way, if you missed the beginning, this will be shown online. You'll be able to see the entire presentation. So one of the things that the first two speakers talked about was the internship stuff and the placement and the connection to the real world. In an upcoming seminar that we're going to have, an incoming panel will be on job readiness to sort of help the students, in addition to what they learn in the school about making connections and networking, how to interview, how to dress, how to look people in the eye, how to not look at your cell phone, you know, those things. And to really connect with the people who employ you. So I just wanted to give you a little heads up on that. Our third speaker is Eddie Ryan from Ryan Plumbing and Heating, and I'm just going to turn it over.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Ryan, and I own and operate Ryan Oil Company here in Hamden. We are a full-service HVAC heating oil company. We do service calls, we do installations, and we deliver oil, drive trucks, the whole bit. A little bit about me. I guess as a young guy, I like to build things, and that's what kind of drove me a bit to get into the HVAC. Because if you go into somebody's house and you take out an old heating system and you put in a nice modern high efficiency system, it looks great. It's just such a sense of achievement that you've really taken on this. I also have this want to help people all the time. So every time, you know, somebody calls up, they have no heat, they're out of oil or this or that, you go there and there's a sense of achievement that you go there and you do this. The industry is really hurting for service technicians, truck drivers, everything. And you can, and as it was said earlier in this, the sky's the limit when it comes to what you can make. You can go, the courses are about 252 hours of classroom and 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, and that's paid on-the-job training. You find somebody that, and there isn't a company here that'll turn anybody away. You get somebody that comes in, they're going to probably start. The state regulates what the technician or the apprentice can be paid. They'll start out at roughly about $18 an hour. Most companies boost them up to $20, $22 an hour almost instantly once they see what they're able to achieve. The qualities that you would need to do this is, you know, a want to help people, a want to build things is one. The other thing would be the ability to use tools. You have to have the ability to read, to be able to read blueprints, wiring diagrams, and have an ability to follow through a service call. When you get to a service call, to say what it is, not just to say, well, it's this and change it, and then you get a call back 2 hours later that it's doing the same thing. Prove it, and that's the sense of satisfaction that you're in. Truck drivers, the CDL part of the you have to drive the trucks nowadays. Another big thing. you have to have Twix cards and all this other stuff. I mean, it just gets nuts. But the HVAC world is just a fantastic place to be. Step out of your house and look around. And everywhere you look, there's a building. And every building needs heat in the winter, air conditioning in the summer, hot water 365. So there's always a need. You'll always, always have a job. You want a job in a union? There's union companies. If you want to just work myself, I worked for an oil company. I became a service, I lost the words now, service manager, and decided that I wanted to go in for myself. And the industry has treated me very well. And I've worked hard at it, and that's where we go. You could locally go to school for the HVAC trades right here in Hamden at Eli Whitney. I do believe they have I don't know about a day class, but I know they do have night classes. There's also the NTech school up in Cromwell that does the full line of HVAC classes for the air conditioning, what we call air heat or water heat hydronics, and you could do geothermal, heat pumps, the whole bit. There's all kinds of things there for you to do. But the most important thing is that the industry really needs service technicians, really needs people that want to work. You can work sheet metal. It's just, it goes on and on. I can't even tell you what else to say. You're going to be involved heavily in the building codes, which change very, very rapidly by the year, sometimes even closer. The biggest thing nowadays in the building codes is that we have this thing we call combustion air, the free air in the basement. 99% of the houses out there have heating systems in them. When you go to change that heating system, the code will not allow you to change that system. So now you have to figure out how you can get that system changed, and you got to bring free air into that basement without freezing up the house in the wintertime, because it's not always 40. Sometimes it's below 0. And that's the air you're bringing in from the outside. So you have to figure how to do this stuff. You have natural gas conversions that can get in, propane. It's an endless thing. It's just nonstop. So that's about all I got. I can answer questions if anybody has them after. I guess we're all set. Thank you.
I'm Mary Moran, and I'm the principal at Eli Whitney Technical High School. And what really is striking tonight is that we're talking about jobs that are not going to go out of style. So if you want to have a job that has great pay and you can take care of your family and you're never going to be out of work because there's always a way to do these jobs, these are the kind of jobs we're looking at. And I'm particularly going to talk about construction trades, although we have a lot of trades at Eli Whitney. And Eli Whitney provides an avenue for getting into some careers that you could certainly get into these careers other ways, but we put you on the fast track and we do it for free because we're a public school. But we're very, very different than other public schools. We're not just a high school that has a shop, you know, like the old-fashioned metal shop. I know my high school had a metal shop, and I think we had a home ec area and some stuff, scary stuff like that. I think my home ec teacher would have a stroke if she saw my house. But we actually spend half of every school year learning how to do a particular career. So when our students graduate, they have half of 4 school years devoted to learning a skill. And when I look at my construction trades, we don't have HVAC, but we have plumbing and heating. So there's, a crossover there. And I think Emmett O'Brien in Ansonia and Platt Tech in Milford do have HVAC.
Wilcox, I think, has it too.
Yeah. And I used to be at EC Goodwin. They had HVAC. HVAC students are very devoted to HVAC. I've never seen more happy students than HVAC students. But not only do our students learn, but they get credit toward apprenticeship. And if you look up at the Department of Labor, Connecticut Department of Labor, what the apprenticeship standards are, it'll tell you what the classroom and hands-on training requirements are. And it's many, many, many hours to get licenses in these trades. Our students graduate halfway to licensure or better. In fact, one of the students at one of the technical high schools recently became the youngest E2 licensed electrician in the state, and she did this before she graduated. And there are girls in all my shops. All my shops have girls. Not only do our students graduate halfway through an apprenticeship, but they have real work on their resume because we do production work. You may have seen our little blue buses out and about that say Eli Whitney on the side. Hopefully the children are behaving nicely in the little blue bus. But we go out into the community and we build things. So unlike a shop class where somebody might build a dog house or a bird house, we build 15,000 square foot additions to people's homes that our carpenters build, our plumbers plumb, and our electricians wire. And they do it in a coordinated way, and they go in waves. So the plumbers do the framing and the outside walls. Then our electricians come in and run the wires, and our plumbers come in and run the pipes. And then the carpenters come back and finish the inside. So our carpenters can put on their resume when they graduate from high school, I have built a double-layered deck that's 2 stories tall. I know how to do stairs, which is a particular kind of skill that's handy for carpenters to be able to put in stairs. I have built an addition to a home. I have completely plumbed a bathroom for someone's house. And every once in a while we do bigger buildings. Right now the carpentry department is building a very large shed, and it's quite a few square feet, and it's very tall. This shed is going to be bigger than some people's homes, and it's so large that when they finish it, the homeowner is going to put a climbing wall in it. And it's going to have electricity, and it's going to have plumbing, and it'll all be done by our students. And in fact, if you want to have something done at your house, you go to our website, there's an application you fill out, and if your project is worthy of education and it meets the requirements of our curriculum, it would be considered. We do it at a little bit different pace than a professional construction team would do because they're students and they're learning, but it is all overseen by our teachers who are all licensed trade people, and they have to check everything out before it's completed. And our labor rates are very minimal. We charge labor by the square foot as opposed to by the hour because we're going to take many hours. It's going to take many hours for us to complete the job. So we do it by the square foot, and it ends up being very, very reasonable for the client to work with us. Our construction trade students are pretty happy to do what they're doing, and I once heard somebody say, well, do parents really want their kids to be just a plumber? And I found that to be pretty offensive because there isn't just a plumber. These are very, very important jobs. We think about brain surgeons as having important jobs. Well, that's really important, but probably most of the people in this room are never going to interact with a brain surgeon, I hope. Not that that means that their job isn't important, but plumbers are very important to every single person in this room because you've either had to call a plumber or your house has plumbing, I hope. So somewhere along the way, a plumber did something for you so that your home can function and operate. And I also think that we have to, even though these are active jobs, they're physically active, you're up, you're moving around, and that is something that's very appealing to a lot of people. It isn't really just about, I like to work with my hands. Because if your electrician is working with his hands, but not engaging the brain, houses burn down. These are extremely important jobs, and they need to be valued a lot more by all of us. Now, in terms of a career, the sky is the limit. A plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, they can work for someone else, they can work on their own, they can take a union job, they can become an entrepreneur. You can make anywhere from $60,000 a year to millions. There's a beautiful, beautiful plumbing facility in Avon called Avon Plumbing. And it's one of these showrooms that you walk in and you see these $1 million bathrooms on display. You know, and I'm not sure who's buying these $1 million bathrooms. It's a beautiful display. The two men who own Avon Plumbing graduated from plumbing and heating at E.C. Goodwin Technical High School. And they now have a multi-million-dollar business. A licensed electrician can make a great living on their own or working for another company. It's just whatever you want to do with it. You can be a contractor. If you're familiar with Ferguson Electric's headquarters is near my home. And it started with an electrician named Ferguson that started his own company. His headquarters is a building about the size of this library, and there's a fleet of trucks. A fleet that all say Ferguson Electrical. That's his company. He's worth millions. So there's a lot that you can do with this. And I think that it's something that we really need to encourage students to take a look at it, because these are jobs we need. And as somebody had mentioned earlier, you know, there are jobs opening. This person says there's 20,000 jobs available. A whole bunch of people are going to retire in the next few years. Right now, there are approximately 2,000 licensed plumbers in the state of Connecticut. That's not very many. It should be double or triple that, and this is a great field to get into. I will say, though, in terms of carpentry, if you're going to hire a carpenter, carpentry is not a licensed trade. Make sure your carpenter is either affiliated with the Carpenters Union or has graduated from a technical high school or another official carpentry program, because anyone can call themselves a carpenter, even me, and trust me, you do not want me doing any carpentry in your house. But if you're interested in Eli Whitney, you're welcome to come see the building anytime you want. We arrange tours for school groups, for parents, for kids. You apply to come to Eli Whitney in 8th grade. If you're a 9th grader, you can also apply to come into 10th grade. If you come in as a 10th grader, you have to go to one of the shops that has space available, so it may not be the shop that the child really, really wants. But right now is the best time, if you're an 8th grader, get that application in, because we are in the process of going through the applications, sending out the letters to the people that are moving on to the next step in the application process, so that in May, our new freshman class is going to be invited into the building and welcomed on board.
Thanks, Mary, and everybody. We're going to take questions in a minute. Just have a couple announcements. I'm sending around a sign-in sheet, so please fill it out with your email and information so we can send you information about the following sessions. I see the young ladies in the back. Please come and talk to Amy. She spoke specifically about construction trades for young women, and so we'll leave some time afterwards for you to talk one-on-one with her. On your table, besides the bios, is a list of information, including tonight's panel, but we're also having the one on manufacturing on March the 5th, Tuesday, March the 5th, same time, but it will be in the Friends Room in the Miller Library General, which is on the second floor. So we kind of rotate back and forth depending on the day of the week. And then upcoming in the future, we're going to be having information technology. That'll be really interesting. Again, a lot of people from the private sector to talk about the IT career opportunities, sustainability, environmental science, how to start a business and entrepreneurship, which is a big part of what the Hamden Public High School is trying to promote as well, and what a lot of what I do. And then lastly will be job readiness, internships, appearance, interview skills, financial literacy. I heard some folks talk about financial literacy, how to keep a checkbook and pay bills and understand what it costs to live, and student debt, which is a big issue going on with young people today. Other folks have asked, why are we doing this for this age group? Well, everybody needs a job, and some of you young people that are in the room, you're going to be looking for career opportunities and jobs over the next 2 to 5 years. There's also folks that are having career changes that are looking for jobs. You're saying you go up to 59. I'll just tell you, what, right. You know, I hear all the time about people who are changing their careers. I just will tell you one funny story. When I told my father I was going to college, he really was upset with me. He was mad at me. He wanted me to be an electrician. Why aren't you an electrician? Well, anyway, in my late 30s, I probably should have switched, but that's all right. But anyway, I'd like to open the floor for your questions. We're not going to put the camera on you because we have to get a release if we do that. So shout out your question or we'll repeat it, and please ask them. You got to have some questions here. Paula.
Where do parents go to the Connecticut Department of Labor to find out what apprentices are available? What apprenticeship jobs are available?
If you go out to the Connecticut website, ct.gov, there's a section there under the Department of Labor, because the Office of Apprenticeship sits within the Department of Labor here in Connecticut. They're also on 200 Folliebrook Boulevard. If you want to go up to Rocky Hill and make an appointment, you can do that. But the Office of Apprenticeship Training is run by a gentleman named Todd Birch. Very pleasant individual. I worked with him for many, many years. And that office regulates and oversees that all apprenticeship hours are credited, be it a technical high school, Job Corps, My Building Pathways program, helmets to hard hats for veterans, or whatever. But they want to make sure that individuals in the trades are registered and their apprenticeship hours are counting. So that's their job, to legislate through the state of Connecticut. But you can go out to Connecticut's site under Department of Labor, and you'll see Office of Apprenticeship Training.
So, Mary, you have a lot of room for students in Eli Whitney? You built a big addition, did a major renovation.
Our enrollment is growing, but we still have room. We are hoping that our freshman class will be about 200 for the incoming year, and we shot for 200 this past year. We're at about 186, which is a pretty big class for us, but we still have room. We have 11 trades, and the trades are limited to 18 students per grade. So 11 times 18 is the total number of students we can have per grade. So right now we're at about 550 students. 700 would probably be about as high as we'd want to go. We could probably shove a few more kids in the building than that, but 700 is probably a pretty good number to still keep a small school feel. But yeah, we have room and we want to grow.
So also in my job, we have construction projects going on. I'm working on a project next to the old middle school. You might have seen it on the corner of Newhall and Moore Street. And that has 24 different construction trades in it, including all the ones that were spoken. The hourly rates, because it's a prevailing wage job, anytime you have a public project funded with grants and public funding, it's prevailing wage. And laborers are getting paid like $24 an hour. Laborers are getting paid $24 an hour. Never mind the other trades, which are way up. So a lot of these jobs that we work on, the government funds, are also good for the local economy in addition to the private market. Somebody had a question over here? Oh, what was going on there? Yes, sir.
On the Gateway automotive course, what's the average time span from start to finish?
So the question was what the time span is for the automotive program.
Depending on how highly motivated a student is and what they're looking for, our degrees are 4 semesters. So if they come to us in September, it's 2 years, including internships in between the semesters and in the summer, and those are paid internships. Certificates, most students take 2 years to do the certificate because they like to work part-time while they're going to school. But we'll have students that come in and they'll double up on all the courses and they can do a certificate in 18 months. And this is, and again, with a certificate or degree, they can go out to work and now earn the $50,000 and up. They're not doing that and going into entry-level jobs. So it's going to be higher level. Thanks.
How about the young people? You have any particular area you're interested in? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything. Anything that interests you?
How does someone go about going into construction of like up in Groton, construction of submarines?
Great question. I mean, they want to hire 1,100 welders. I don't know where they're getting all these welders. One of the hottest jobs out there.
So I'll tell you my piece of it, and then I would encourage you to come back for the manufacturing piece, because here locally, the Workforce Alliance, which is your workforce investment board in this area, has just set up and gotten all of the blessings and the pre-approvals through DOL to run a manufacturing pipeline initiative very similar to what they've been doing in Eastern Connecticut for 2 years. So it actually is running statewide, but everybody who lives here locally who is interested in that should go online and look up the Workforce Alliance. There is a manufacturing pipeline initiative link right on there to apply and to give you all of the specs on what you need to do to apply. And Chris Reardon is coming to the manufacturing piece. I don't know which night that is yet, but okay, so in March she's coming out to talk about all that. She's instrumental in the development, so I would encourage that. But you can look at that pipeline piece, and for young people, you need to do that piece. But you can also go out and look up General Dynamics Electric Boat, or GDEB.com. That is the organization, the company that builds the submarines for the U.S. Department of Defense here in Groton. And there you can actually just take a look. GD, George David Electric Boat, EB. Yeah, and so you can go out there and take a look, and you can see all of the job postings that they're looking to do. They have submarine orders from the U.S. government through 2037 for the new Columbia-class submarine. So it is a job that is going to run for a significant number of years for Connecticut residents to work on these boats if they're interested. And it does have the design side, which for all of the young people here who love to be on the computer, you can actually design the boats on the computer and do the marine draftsman side of the house. Or you can go out in the shipyard and be the carpenter, the laborer, the plumber, the welder, the pipe fitter that puts the boat together once it's designed on the computer. So they are looking for the next generation. It's another area that has, really everybody's looking to retire and get out of boat building, and we have to have that next generation if we're going to keep submarines here in Connecticut.
So as somebody mentioned before, there's a lot of numbers being thrown around about available jobs, both whether they're in technical trades or in manufacturing. So it's only going to get, the need will get bigger. A lot of folks are retiring over the next 5-10 years, so these jobs are always going to be there and will be good paying jobs. Any final questions? Paula?
I have a question for Ms. Moran. When a student is ready to go out and get a job, when they're in an apprenticeship program, does Eli Whitney help them find an apprentice shop and go through the process with them, and how does that work?
Our trade teachers, let me just, before I forget, say something about Electric Boat. They provide transportation. We had two students graduate a couple years ago that got jobs at Electric Boat, and one young lady didn't want to move to Groton because she wanted to go to Quinnipiac and live at home, and they are providing transportation for her. So
Yeah, they do it all over the state.
that's a pretty good deal. But back to your question. We encourage our students to get involved in work-based learning. So work-based learning is an opportunity that if they get a job that is in the trade, they can go do that instead of coming to school. Now, during academics, they have to come to school, but during their trade cycle, they can actually go to work instead of coming to school for a few days a week, not every day. We facilitate that process. We have a work-based learning coordinator, and all of our trade teachers are people who actively worked in the trade, and they maintain what's called a trade advisory committee, which is a group of tradespeople that come in and meet with them to help them to look at curriculum and look at trends and things like that. And so they build a network of people that are in the trade and are potential employers. And so they also are some of the folks that provide some of the work-based learning opportunities, but the trade teachers really reach out to their network of contacts to find out when there are opportunities and then facilitate directing the correct students to those opportunities. We recently had a few opportunities at I can't remember what it is, but it's a pretty high-tech manufacturing company that came in, and the trade teacher was able to identify which of his students would be the best fit. They interviewed them right at school, and they offered positions right on the spot.
We will be taking this. What we do is every panel we take the sign-in sheet and then we just build our distribution list. So you'll be getting like at least 5 emails from me about the manufacturing and all the other ones because we want to keep bringing people back. Have any of you here attended the other nights where we had healthcare and STEM? Isn't that amazing? I was telling the speakers before that the healthcare panel and the STEM panel were completely different audiences. Only one person was at both panels, and none of you have attended the other one. So I think that's great. I think it shows the diversity of what the job needs are. Any final questions? We're going to leave time at the end for you to talk to the folks individually. Yes. Does the series? Does the? Oh, you're talking. Oh, yeah. Okay.
In
Okay.
terms of mine, they have to be 18 years old to apply for my program. You have to be 18 years old to work in construction unless you have a special situation built for training that's approved. I will take anybody within my program that is physically capable of doing construction and can do a DOT physical, pass a drug screen, be working toward a driver's license, and be committed to construction. They don't actually have to have the driver's license until they graduate and/or I hold the certificate because in construction you have to be willing to drive the state. You are not going to get a job in construction in New Haven and be able to ride the bus long term. It just isn't going to happen. A lot of people think it will, but trust me, it will not. So yeah, if you're, and as a matter of fact, I've got a kid out of Meriden that interviewed today, so he's 24. We really honestly need I've had 18-year-old kids that are ready for this and do well, but about 24, when life has kind of hit them with the Dunkin' Donuts minimum wage thing, and maybe they have some other responsibilities or they want a different kind of situation, that's about when this looks really good to them. So I give you my card. I'd love to talk to you.
Okay, I have a question sort of more for Eddie because we've been talking about the construction trades and working for larger businesses and bigger construction and construction in general. But for the entrepreneur, somebody who owns a small business, whether you're an electrical contractor, plumbing, how do you find the young people that you might be looking for if somebody in your business wants to grow and hire 3 people over the next few years? How do you find those people? And what's the best way that you can connect with the Eli Whitneys of the world?
Well, I have 6 employees between drivers and service technicians. All 6 of those employees I've brought up on my own. I trained all the service technicians personally. I sent them to school. I took care of their school. And I brought them through. They're all licensed. The truck drivers, obviously, CDL'd and the hazmat cards. but they were all brought up and trained. I take that back. One guy wasn't. One guy came aboard after, but everybody else I trained, personally coming up. The idea is that as you're looking around and you meet different people and you're talking, people start getting interested in what you're doing. And as they get interested, you bring them in as an apprentice, and you start to see what they have. Some people have it, some people don't. All right? And so far, I think we only had one person that we ended up turning away. But the rest we kind of brought up on our own and put them through school.
So one of the points of doing this whole panel series is people tend to think of the business community, the parents. And what we're trying to do is start the conversation so that people like Eddie and who are entrepreneurs, they're small business owners and technicians at the same time, get a chance to talk to parents. And we plan on having a lot more interaction either through the Board of Ed or on our own to make sure that everybody has economic prosperity in their home. I'm going to cut it off here and let you spend some time with the panelists. Any final thoughts from the panelists that you'd like to, something, because we on the healthcare panel, there was one person who said, oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. Any other final comments by the panelists? Are you good? All right, great. So thanks for coming tonight. Please spend, we have the room for another 20 minutes or so. Please spend some time talking to everybody here. Thanks for coming.